Welcome back to the Caring Conversation studio, live at the NEC in Birmingham. We are here with Debbie Harris. Hi, Debbie.
Hello, York. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Right, let's have an interesting conversation. I guess actually first, you want to tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Debbie Harris, founder and managing director of Autumna. We are a consumer directory, really. We support families who are looking for care. We primarily support self-funding families. That's where our expertise lies. It's where my expertise lies. And for us, it is about presenting the sector in a positive way, in a trusted way, and giving independent information.
What's the market like at the moment then? Is it busy with self-funders? Is it quiet? What's the general vibe? It's October 2024. Where's the market at?
I think the market is reasonably strong. I think occupancy is reasonably strong, but it's variable. So depending on whether or not, depending on your location, depending on your price point, depending on the care that you offer, providers are seeing different inquiry levels across those different points. It's a really interesting one to actually break down the data. I think generally speaking, it's good. We're back to sort of more sustainable levels than we have been.
It's been a bit of a weird market over the past
Certainly
few years,
has.
and it's been. I often think there's a kind of a tipping point with care organisations where if occupancy is, say for example above 80, they're like, okay, cool, and they kind of chill a bit on the marketing side, and then if it's below, suddenly the money kicks in and they start really kind of pushing and trying to get that up. And I think it's about 78% occupancy across the sector at the moment or something. So
it's more than that. And I've been speaking to quite a few providers who are comfortably into the 90% occupancy. But again, these are the larger providers in some instances, which is fine. But it's the SMEs that might be struggling and might not have the marketing power, the marketing pull to attract additional clients.
Yeah. So we had a little chat about the CQC framework and kind of how that works. What's your thoughts on all of that then, Debbie?
Okay, so I think it's fair to say the CQC is not doing what it is supposed to do. The government has said so, the CQC has said so, let's face it, and absolutely without question every single provider I speak to is telling me the CQC is not supporting them. I represent care seekers. We are effectively the voice of care seekers, and I can categorically tell you that the CQC is not working for care seekers. If you have a report, and I think it was James Bullion that said the average age of a care home report at the moment is 3 years and 8 months old.
Wow.
I mean, that is criminal.
That's for an average as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As a care seeker, you need to know what the quality of that care is like now, not 4 years ago, and how demoralising for the care provider who has had that report, has put in all of the improvements, has done lots of work, made things better, and they have no way of getting the CQC back in to re-inspect. And that is probably actually the biggest criticism I'm hearing from providers. They cannot get the CQC back in to re-inspect.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately as a company that's put a lot of effort into it, if you've got that requires improvement badge, it's like having a tattoo across your forehead. You can make the case against it. It's really difficult to push past that because
really is.
Because the buying public still see that as as valuable, and we as a sector have to kind of explain it and say, well, it might say that, but if you look at the age of the report, it's a bit like once you've heard a bit of bad news, it's quite difficult to sort of undo that, isn't it?
And bad news always spreads, doesn't it, as well? Much easier than good news.
Yeah.
I think if you've got an RI, it impacts you everywhere. So I was talking to a provider earlier in the week, and they were telling me that the local authority pay them less in fees if they have an RI, and they cannot get the CQC back in to re-inspect them.
Yeah.
So not only are they losing clients because clients are deciding not to go into an RI home, but they're also losing money from the local authority as well. I mean, it's
imagine
ludicrous.
Probably also ending up with more complex cases as well. I'd imagine in that scenario where there's less
Quite
family
possibly.
involvement or something like that, where someone's being placed because no one else wants to take them,
Yeah.
and they're like having to do it. So
Yeah.
you're fighting on all fronts.
Yeah, I mean, the sector desperately needs, which is what we launched in the summer, OpenScore. It desperately needs the ability to demonstrate directly to potential clients the quality of their care and their service in real time. And it is, frankly, insane that it doesn't already exist, but it doesn't. So that's what we've developed in conjunction with Care England, with Langbuisson, with Virgin Money, with Legal & General, and other stakeholders. So we've got everybody together, and we've said, right, if we are to have a real-time quality and service assessment, what should the data points be? How should we do it so that it supports providers? And we represent the care seeker, so I'm going to make sure it supports the care seeker as well. And we've worked on this for over a year.
Yeah.
It launched in the summer.
About it.
Yeah, we have done before.
Yeah.
We've got over 2,000 providers using it.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, York, I had a few sleepless nights before it went live. I can tell you, because I thought, oh my God, what's everybody going to think?
Because I'd assume with this that you can't. There's a stand opposite us, and it's very easy to get a 9.9, or it seems to be. It seems that most care homes have a 9.9 or a 9.8. I assume it's much more difficult to get a very, very high score.
The
with your
average,
system.
nobody has a 10. It's out of 10, nobody has a 10. The average,
because perfect care is impossible.
Well,
right?
exactly right, exactly right. The average, the benchmark on the platform is 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's still good. Very good.
Yeah.
But we want to incorporate more data points so that we're really getting and supporting the care provider.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're starting to do now is we're working with suppliers to the care homes. It's just in care homes at the moment, but we'll roll out. We're working with suppliers to the care homes. And if you have invested time and money in digital care planning service, for example, system, and believe me, that is time and money. You've got no ROI on that. And the care seeker, your prospective clients, doesn't understand the implications and the significance of having digital care plans in a care home, not until they move in, by which time they're already a client. So by feeding it into OpenScore, it's giving the care providers an ROI on this investment that they're making. So we're looking at working with more and more suppliers on that. I think that will really help.
Without kind of sharing the secrets, what's a couple of examples of the data points that go into OpenScore?
At the moment, for version 1, we've got CQC, of course, you've got to have that, regulator rating. We've got Food Standards Agency, we've got Registered Manager, so they're all the APIs. So it's broken up into 3 tranches. That's the first tranche. Second tranche is self-assessment by the care provider. Self-assessment purely because it doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
This is stuff that we have developed, and that's on food, ESG and IPC. And then the third tranche is about the data that you're giving the care seeker, the consumer, and that how fresh it is, how up to date it is, are your prices visible, the important stuff. 65 of them, so there's quite a few, and as I say, we're now starting to talk to suppliers about bringing in more data.
As a care home able to kind of submit a report about their food and how it's prepared, where it's sourced, and I guess based on that information, you articulate a score from that to help understand. Yeah.
So choice dining is something that we developed about 2.5 years ago, and that we work with Unilever and NHS nutritionalists and a whole load of stakeholders on this, and we said, right, if you are going to demonstrate good food in a care home, and variety and choice and presentation, etc., what should we be building for choice dining in order for the care home to present that? So, this is a badge that's been on the Autumna website for the last couple of years, and we're just pulling that data in. We've developed these data sources, and it's now pulling into OpenScore. We've pulled them all together. Yeah,
and I assume reviews and things play into it as well?
Interestingly, live reviews come into it, and the only live reviews we are currently pulling in are from the digital reception and e-reception, so the digital sign-in, sign-out books.
Yeah.
So the providers that have gone digital and are using these rather than paper, when you sign out, you're given the opportunity to rate the care home, and it sort of roughly aligns with the Chloe's, and we've worked with digital reception and e-reception, and that feeds directly then into OpenScore. So you've got...
because you're guaranteed then it's a verified score.
Exactly right. You can't do it via Google
yeah.
reviews because you can't verify it.
Yeah.
So you know somebody's been in the care home. What's really interesting in comparison to, say, the carehome.co.uk reviews is, I was on a panel with Will this morning, and he was saying sort of the KPI for that is 1 review a month, which is absolutely fine. It's a text-based review. It's much more detailed. But when you're using these digital sign-in, sign-out books, we're seeing an average of 70 reviews a month.
Wow.
So it goes from being subjective, what one person thinks about your care home, to an objective overview of the quality of your care in real time.
Yeah, because as
critical.
well, the negative and positive, the reviews can be, they are subjective because one person's experience may, again, like we said, care is very complicated to deliver. So, regardless of...
Sometimes it's going to go wrong.
Sometimes it's going to go wrong, So that's really interesting. So you think, obviously I had a chat with Virgin Money earlier, and they were talking about how they're looking to adopt that system as part of the scoring for funding. How do you think that plays into funding for, you've mentioned that the local authorities will pay lower rates. Do you think you can ever get that to the point where it's taken as seriously as I guess you want that to be the benchmark for quality
absolutely.
care.
So our founding principles when we first started working on this was that it would be an at-a-glance overview of the quality of care for the care seeker. It would give the care provider the opportunity to demonstrate the quality of their care, which they currently have been unable to do. It will raise the standard of care because everybody's going to chase a good review and evidence it. And it will provide the opportunity for commissioners to look at the quality of care. Currently, the local authority will maybe go out and have a look at the care homes because it would appear they haven't trusted the CQC reports for a while. Yeah. So they were going out. But if you've got something that's live, you actually don't need to do that. So I can see there's a commissioning opportunity there. But they're going to be probably slow to adopt. I think there is a real opportunity. But I'm being regularly approached by lenders who are saying to me, we can't get the information, we can't, the CQC just doesn't work. If it's 4 years old, it's of no use to us at all. And they're talking to us about how they would like to see more information coming into OpenScore, which is definitely on the roadmap.
Yeah, the more the better, really, I guess.
Oh, God, absolutely. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, okay, one more question is, how can a care provider, if they're interested in doing this, how do they get an OpenScore?
Okay, so at the moment, OpenScore is available on a premium listing on Autumna, so that's part of your premium listing. But last Thursday, in fact, we launched the OpenScore widget for a website. So we've got an early bird offer. You're going to like this. It's a widget that sits on their website with the OpenScore. It's a live feed, obviously, and it says when it was last updated, so last updated 5 days ago, for example. But you can also have a widget that incorporates the CQC, which is a live feed, but we put on that last updated 3 years, 8 months ago. So you've got an absolute contrast. Yeah. This is live, this is old, and we're getting a lot of interest from providers about that.
I often talk to care providers about if you have requires improvement and you've enacted the things you're meant to, but you've still got that score, is you should be next to that score talking about what you've done.
Yeah.
So, on your website, if you've got on the left-hand side, you've got the score, on the right-hand side should be, I think in the old manager, saying, hi, we got requires improvement on this date, we've done this, this and this to fix it, and this is why I believe we're now good, we're waiting an inspection.
Yeah.
And,
I wouldn't disagree with you at all. I think the difficulty is you've got the care provider protecting themselves.
Yeah.
That's their perception. Whereas you've got OpenScore is independent even from Autumna.
Yeah.
So you've got an independent assessment of your care home, and that carries a lot of power and weight, I think, for the care seeker.
Would you like to see OpenScore on all the other sites as
Yeah.
well one day?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't want to have any barriers at all.
Yeah.
We really don't. I think this is something the sector needs. It's why we started doing it. The sector needs it. We didn't know that the CQC was going to implode at the time. But, yeah,
Okay, well, on that note,
implosion.
implosion. Thank you very much for coming, Debbie.
Thanks, York.
Lovely. We'll be back shortly with another interview.